Hello everyone and welcome to a new module. We will see how we can connect PowerPoint to Excel tables and charts. So I have an Excel file with me here. You will also find this in the resources folder. So let me first insert a pivot table. Let us keep our market and our subcategory and our sales value. Something like this. Now let's say you want to send this to PowerPoint, so I can copy it. And first let me make a copy on Excel itself. Not a pivot table, just a regular table like this. We would also like to add some borders here. So I'm adding a border, changing the width to 25, making it center aligned, changing the color in the top row to green, and then changing the color here like this. Looks a lot better. So when I select this, copy it, and then I send it back to PowerPoint, there are a few options that we will have with us. So the moment I do a Control V, you notice that we have 5 options available. I'm just putting a screenshot here as well. So it looks like this. Let's go over them one by one. So I'm again coming back to Excel, Control C, Control V. Now you notice that by default, of course your default might be different to mine, but by default what I see is just a bare bones table. The border, the colors that I had kept on the original Excel is not appearing here. So when I go to Control, you notice that the first option has been selected, which is the destination style. And because my destination style currently in the PowerPoint is just a basic skeleton, hence I don't see any formatting on this. The next one will be the source formatting. The source in this case will be the original Excel file. And in the original Excel, whatever colors, borders were there, I see the same thing here as well. I'm going to go to the third one in a bit, but let's cover the fourth and the fifth one first. The fourth one is a picture, which, as you would guess, is just a picture. It's a non-editable image that you get. But it looks the same way that it looked on the original Excel as well. After that, we have the last one, which is just the text, not a table, just the text. There are some cases where you might want to do something like this, but usually this is not what we want, because why would you want to convert the data from the table into text? But in any case, the option is there. Now let's look at the third one, which is the one in the center. And this one is what we call as an embed. Now what the embed does is that it takes the entire Excel workbook and it saves a copy of that workbook inside your PowerPoint. Remember, not just the data, not just the sheet. It takes a copy of the entire Excel workbook and then saves it inside your PowerPoint. What does it even mean? This is like an attachment, which means that if now I do a double click, you will notice that I can essentially edit my Excel directly within PowerPoint. But this is not the Excel that is there originally. You will notice that if I change Africa to India here in PowerPoint, of course it has nothing to do with what we have here. And here if I make it Germany, Both of these are independent of each other, right? So let's go back and change it back to Africa. So this is not a link. It is not connected to the original Excel. It's just a copy of the entire Excel. Also, you notice that this is not just the sheet. I have sheet 1, I have sheet 2 and orders compact. So the pivot table that I created is also a part of it. The simplest way to think about it is that this is essentially like an attachment. Let's say you're sending an email to someone and you attach a workbook. This is like that. So if your original Excel workbook is 5 MB in size, this would obviously and automatically increase the size of your PowerPoint also by 5 MB. But then none of these give us the solution if we want to link it. So there are two ways of doing that. So once I come back and I copy it, Control C, and I go to the paste option, we have this paste special. Now remember, this option is not visible if you do a Control C, Control V. You will have to specifically come here and select paste special. And then once you have chosen paste special, you have this option called paste link. Let's have a look. So paste and then paste special and then paste link. And that, everyone, is the option that we want. So as you can see, once I've copied, come back, and then I do a paste special as a link. This might look like any other Excel, but then if I come back to my original Excel and I change this to India, you notice a change happens here as well. How cool is that? But if I double click on this, nothing happens. In fact, when I double click, it's just taking me to the Excel. But then what if I want to make some subsequent changes directly within PowerPoint? Which means that I would like to link my data to the original Excel so that any change in the original Excel also reflects in my PowerPoint. But I would also like to make further changes to the Excel directly within PowerPoint. In that case, we will first want to create a blank Excel table like this. So I want to create a blank Excel spreadsheet, as you can see, like this. So insert table and then a Excel spreadsheet. So this creates an empty Excel object within my PowerPoint. So I'll come back. I don't need all the data. I'll just take maybe 2 of these columns. We come back, and then in the paste, I select paste link. So that's the second option in the last row that we have. That is the paste link that we have. One more time. Let me copy and then do a paste link. Here we go. Now, if you notice that there is a formula bar, and that tells us that these data points have been connected to my workbook called Global Superstore Orders 2016, Sheet 2, B2, like this. Now, this is really cool because now I can double click. I can increase the width. I can select. I can make it center aligned. I can make it bold. Any value that I do not want, I can also change it. For example, maybe the value that we have here, let's come back and see. Maybe the value here, I don't want that. This 0, because it's a blank in the Excel, it's showing as a 0 here. Maybe I don't want to show a 0, I can just delete it. So it gives me independent control over every single cell that we have. And maybe for the numbers, I also want to have the sum. So I can just write equal to sum. And remember, I'm doing all of this directly within my PowerPoint. So my sum and my average and my count. Right? Very cool. Let's put some colors here. Once you're done, let's put a color on the final row as well. Once I'm done, now you notice that this is what we get. But these are also linked, which means that if any change happens in my original Excel, let's see what will happen. Let's say that accessories is 42,000 right now, but let's say it changes to 59,000. Did you see this? The 59,000 changed here in the Excel, and because there was a formula written post it, that formula also got changed, or rather the result also changed. How nice is that? Now this can be a huge time saver because it also saves you a lot of effort not having to again and again do that repetitive task of taking the Excel, coming back and then putting it on PowerPoint. Next, let's also look at the chart. Now charts are much easier. So when I take my data, I'm just going to call this the product. And let's make a very simple column chart like this. So when we have a chart with us, we can simply copy it, come back and then paste it. And in the control, you have the option for destination, theme and embed, which means it picks the theme from PowerPoint and embeds. Then you have source formatting and embed, which means it picks the theme from the Excel and embeds. Then you can destination, theme and link data, and then source formatting and link data. So this is what you have to decide. Do you want to embed the entire workbook? For example, if I embed it, here you notice that it has not been linked to my original Excel. So any change in the Excel will not reflect here, but I can still right click and edit the data because the Excel has been embedded. So when I say edit data in Excel, even though it doesn't work for me now because I'm working on the cloud, but then once you try it, you will notice that it does work for you. The other option that we have is to copy. And this time we want to select one of the link options. So I'm going to select the third one, which is destination, theme and link data. And this means that on the Excel, if this 42,000 changes to 1,42,000, you notice that the chart changes here. And when you try this on your system, you will notice that the chart will change here on the PowerPoint as well. Even though it's not working for me, it should work for you once you have done the link data. The final option is the picture, which is simple enough to understand. It's a picture, right? When you're working with the table, there are also a few other formatting options that you should keep in mind. So let me come back and then get my entire table here, Control V. And I also want to select source formatting. Now this looks good enough. The problem is that if I want to increase the size, let me first remove a few of the columns. So maybe I just want to keep India and Asia Pacific. Let me delete the columns. This is better. Let's say you want to increase the size. The tip is that if you do not do anything, if you increase the size like this, the font size will not increase. What is the trick? The trick is that when you're increasing the size, make sure to keep the Shift button pressed. Look at the difference. When I press the Shift pressed, when it increases in size, the font will increase proportionally at the same time. How nice is that? Let me also write down this point. Press and hold Shift. Font size will increase proportionally. Super simple. The other tip that I have is that let's say we have a small table with us. Let's say something like this. And many times you will notice that the height is not the same. Maybe it looks like this. Why does it happen? I'll not get into that. Maybe it's a manual error. Maybe you have copied it from some other place. Then this is the challenge that you have. So there are a couple of things that we can do here. So It's very simple. I just have to select table design, and then in layout, I have distribute rows, which means that all the rows will be distributed. And now you notice the height of each row is equal. So this is the option, everyone. We are doing distribute rows. Similarly, you have a distribute columns as well. Now, maybe after you have created equal height of all the rows, you feel that maybe the row height is a lot. There's a lot of empty white space. Then you can just go back to layout and then decrease the height manually. So you notice that I'm decreasing the height and it's decreasing for every single row at the same time. Like this. And of course, you similarly have an option for the width of the column as well. One more tip. Many times when you have a table which you have pasted, it might not fill up the entire slide. That means that there's a lot of space on the left and the right. So I can go back to table layout and I have an option for, okay, maybe this option is only available in Word. I don't think this is there in PowerPoint, but since I've brought it up, let me cover it in Word at least. So I have a Word document here and I'm pasting my Excel table. Now you notice that it is leaving a lot of margin on the left and the right side, which I might not want. So what I'm going to do here is, or in this case, it's actually going outside, right? So let me tell you both these things. First, let me only take two of these columns. Now you notice there's a lot of space wasted. So I can click on the table and then on table layout, we can select auto fit and then contents. Auto fit contents will only give us enough space for the text to appear. And then auto fit window will utilize all the space that I have. And then similarly, you have fixed column width, which means that it will assign the same width. But what if you are selecting a table that goes beyond the page, something like this? So rather than fixing it manually, I can just select the table and then select auto fit window. And now you notice it constrains itself to the space that you have given to it. I won't cover this in too much detail, but then since I brought it up, I thought I'll at least discuss this a little bit. So that is the connectivity between Excel and PowerPoint, everyone. There are, of course, certain ways of doing an automation. Let me just show you where those videos are. On my channel, if you look at my PowerPoint playlist, you will notice that there are some videos I've created on automation of Excel charts to PowerPoint. Now this uses VBA, but definitely worth a look because the codes have already been given here. You just have to copy and paste the code. So imagine a scenario where you have 15 charts and you want to put them on 15 slides in Excel. You don't want to do that manually, so you can do it this way. I am sharing the link as well in the same PowerPoint. Here we go. And in one of our later modules, I will also cover the animations in MOF to tell you how you can take an Excel chart and you can build animations on it. So for example, let us say you have a column chart and you want all the columns to appear one after the other, not in one go. We will see how to do that as well.